genuinely don't care, into an appointment setting, into a closing stage, how you can massively impact the level of results that you actually have. And I'm going to share on this whiteboard so you can see a little bit more about exactly how this can work for you guys as well. So we're going to break this down in a little bit more simple form. So at the moment, you're probably doing all the usual stuff. So you're working hard, you're starting early, you're finishing late, but the problem is that the bank account isn't showing the type of money that you're expecting. So why is it? If it's just as simple as everyone tells you, as just putting more leads in, surely you would have already have done that. But what we want to be able to start thinking about, right, is in these conversations, how can you get more effective at what you are actually trying to do? Now, what we want to be able to look at on here is how you can have less conversations, but actually how can you make more money? And it's going to come down to one simple part, and it's going to come down to your conversions. And this is one of the biggest headaches I genuinely feel most businesses, and you're probably the same, are actually going through at the moment. So what we want to be able to work out is within our business, there's going to be a number of different areas that can actually impact what we do. And for you at the moment, if it's just as simple as just putting more leads in the front end, that works if you have an automated sales process. But actually, if you're a founder or you've got a small team, just putting more leads in means that they actually still need to get worked. You've still got to be able to sit down and you've got to have the meetings. You've got to have the conversations. You've got to do the follow-up. You've got to close the deal. You've got to organize your CRM. You've got to do the paperwork or the logistics. Now, this takes a huge amount of time, effort, and money. But if you double your leads, you're also doubling all of this as well. But actually, what I want you guys to think about in a little bit more detail is something a bit more, I think, sensible for 2026 as you guys move through with this. And genuinely, I feel for the vast majority of people, this is, it's not intentionally done wrong, but it's to do one simple part of this. And actually, what you're really trying to do is you are trying to avoid rejection. We've recently spoke to a company, and I'll give you an example. They're a company in the solar space, and they were having their leads come in. They'd book a very short appointment. They would really overqualify them, and they give them a quote, if I could spell. Then they would go face to face if the person basically guaranteed they were going to buy. And what would happen is, in this stage, 85% of people were ghosting them. So why is that? Because on paper, you go, okay, well, what they didn't want to do, we don't want to pressure people. That's smart. We don't want to rush people. That's smart. And you don't want to do all these negative things out there. But the problem that we have with a huge amount of these areas is what people tell you they want and what they need to make a decision are often completely and utterly different. You're right. You don't want to pressure people. You're right. You don't want to rush people. You're right. You don't want to do all these horrible things. But what you actually need to be able to do is get more effective in the early stages of what you are trying to achieve. Now, if I talk to you about a couple of simple things, and we talk about this one a lot. This is where people talk about scripts go completely wrong. Now, if I say this one phrase to you, and I say to you, I never told you to kill him. If I just change one word throughout this, it changes. So if I say, I never told you to kill him, you'll hear one thing, right? But if I say, I never told you to kill him, you hear something completely different. But if I say, I never told you to kill him, again, we hear something different. You go, I never told you to kill him. you hear something different. And this is the problem that we have. For a vast majority of you, it is not just say the magic word. It's actually the way the conversation and the flow of a conversation actually goes. And the reason I can tell you this without any shadow of doubt is every single one of you at some point have gone in to buy a car or you've gone in to buy a house and the person you spoke to completely and utterly put you off. Now, that person didn't wake up that day intentionally planning to piss you off, but they did. They fucked up. They made a mistake. Now, if other people have managed to do that unintentionally, it would be arrogant of us to think that we wouldn't do the same. And here's the one thing I want you all to remember. The data doesn't lie. So I'll make this super simple. Let's say, we'll stick with solar for the moment, Uma. Let's say that you put in 30 leads into a business and you at the minute have only got yourself something extremely low, like 35%, I'm not going to do the maths, of these leads turn into an appointment. So what's 35? Let's say 30%, say 33%, because that's easier. So that'd be 10. So out of 30, you get 10 appointments. Okay, cool. And you go and sit the 10 appointments and you've got a 20% conversion. Okay, so you've got 2 deals. Let's say your average order value is 10 grand. You've got a £20,000 revenue. So you're doing 240 grand a month. Now you might turn around and go, oh, this is all right. But the problem that we've got is most people don't realize that what they're missing, like people stealing out of your account, is if you were getting, let's say, 70% of the leads that you had come in turning into appointments, that would give you, I can't even do the maths, it's about 18-ish appointments. Now, even if you were still only closing at 20%, that's still going to give you far more deals. Right? But actually, for example, in solar, a lot of our clients will see typically 50 as a very low average, some at 70, and you'll get some that will absolutely crush and have points where they're closing 90%. Now, I want to forget about these people now. Let's say if you were sat in the middle here and you were just hitting 60% conversions. Out of these 18, that'd give you around 10 deals. And that same price bracket of £10,000 is going to get you a £1.2 million a year business. What's the difference between the people in there? Because the leads are the same, but it's everything that happens within the conversations. And this is the thing I want you all to think about. All of this stuff is teachable, learnable. And most business owners have never gone through the stage of learning it. And what you want to be able to think about is simply this. What is it costing you not knowing? Now, you don't need to be an amazing salesperson, but you need to have a plan and a structure of what to do. And this is a problem that most people have. Most people don't have a plan, and this is the important bit, they stick to. Mike Tyson said it best. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. They have an outlined plan, but as soon as the other person veers off course, that plan completely falls apart. And what you want to have is an outlined plan and process, not necessarily a word for word script, but goes through and you've got your stages. That every single point we know what's happening next. And even if that plan veers off, you've got the plan for what to do to bring things back so that when things come back into play, you still close the deals. And what most people do is they have a very basic plan, and as soon as it goes off, they just simply wing it. Now, some of you out there will say, but actually winging it works. But if that works for you, no point in watching this video. But if you're at the stage that winging it now isn't working, you have to make a decision. Are you prepared to give up on this plan and give up the results you have now for better? And this is the dead zone for most people. Most people out there want better results, but what they're not prepared to do is make the simple changes because they've got uncertainty to actually move forward. I'm not going to sit here now about the objection handling or objection prevention or blah, 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 and ask this question. I want you to be at the stage now. For you, you have to make this decision before you do anything else. And the problem for the vast majority of business owners is you are not learn to spell, Dave, congruent. Because if we look at your prospects and we look at you, what you're doing, what your prospects are doing aren't aligned. So you're expecting your prospects to see an ad, have a quick conversation, book a meeting, sit a meeting, and then, say for the solar guys, for example, spend 10 grand and make a decision there and then. But you, on the other hand, struggle to see an ad. A lot of people don't even have the first conversation. And this is where most people ghost that want help. They expect their clients to do all of this, but they don't do it themselves. Or even if they do have the meeting, they get to the end and they struggle to make a decision based on facts. This is one thing I want you all to sit here and realize. We are like magnets, and you will attract in this world the very thing that you are. I get told all the time, I'm an absolute sucker for buying stuff. But do you know how much I am congruent with the way that we sell? So when I get into a meeting, I have an absolute expectation for people that they would make a decision fast because I act in that same way. Now, I'm not saying blindly buy from people, but you have to be able to look at the plan and be able to make a decision. So you find the data, you analyze the data, but you do it fast, and then you make a decision. And the reason I bring this up, get my camera to zoom in. It doesn't like zooming today, does it? Zoom. There we go. And if you can get the data, analyze fast, and make a decision based on the information, then move forward, you will attract the same thing. But if you're not prepared to do this, if you start saying, I am not that type of person, I don't make decisions this way, blah, 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 then you have no right to expect your prospects to do differently. We cannot go out into the world and expect other people to do things that you are not prepared to do. And I am not remotely sorry for saying this. Now, I'm not saying for people to blindly buy from you, irrelevant of the facts. But I need you to get into your head to realize if you find it impossible so far in your life to make quick decisions, you will struggle to get other people to make decisions. If you cannot walk over the hot coals, stop asking other people to walk over the hot coals. If you can't jump out the plane, stop asking people to jump out the plane. Because a lot of people need to borrow your confidence and your belief with what they're doing. And what I want you to think about is this. For most people to buy a new product or service, something has to happen. They need to have a change in their beliefs. They need to overcome a misconception. They need to overcome or eradicate a fear. And the way they do a lot of this is through clarity. And this, when you're just exposing people to knowledge, not helping them overcome these things, just increases the level of confusion that they have, and it reduces the level of clarity they have. And this makes them feel like they need to do more research. But if you can increase the level of clarity, there's no need for the research, because you've increased the level of belief, you've removed the misconceptions, and you remove the fear. But if you're at the stage that you personally aren't good at making those decisions, you will increase the level of resistance and you will reduce the level of flow within the conversation, and it will completely screw it up. And it was a conversation I had with someone today, and that's why I wanted to come on here today just to drop this video. Check with yourself. Are you being congruent? Are you doing things in an aligned way? And do you live in an aligned way in the same way you're asking your prospects to? Because if you're not, go and change that before you do anything else. See you on the next video.